Singapore mourned its founding father, Lee Kuan Yew, with a state funeral last month. When Lee became the first prime minister, the small city-state was struggling. He led it to become a global hub of trade and finance while looking to post-war Japan as a model for high economic growth. NHK World's Takuma Yoshioka has more.
All my life, you see, the whole of my adult life, I had believed in Malaysian merger and the unity of these two territories.
Despite Lee's hopes that Singapore would remain part of Malaysia, it became independent in 1965. It was cut off from the resources and the labor pool of the Malay Peninsula. The new city-state had to start from scratch with a population of under 2 million. Lee gave Wong Meng Quang the task of attracting foreign investment in Tokyo. Meng Quang would go on to become a top diplomat.
Japanese firms had been successful in merging Japanese concepts with Western technology and then further improving on them. Lee Kuan Yew was very interested in this kind of development.
Meng Quang encouraged Japanese companies to do business in Singapore, but the reaction was almost always very cool. Japanese executives often asked if Southeast Asia could be trusted with their investments. In a bid to turn things around, Lee set his sights on building a petrochemical complex. Lee contacted then Japanese Prime Minister Takeo Fukuda through Meng Quang. Lee assured him that the project had the full backing of his government.
I told Prime Minister Fukuda that Lee thought of the project not as a private investment, but as a national project. I also told him that Lee said Singapore would make laws for the benefit of Japanese firms. Then Fukuda agreed.
It was Sumitomo Chemical that responded to Lee's call. Hiromasa Yonekura was one of the company's delegates sent for negotiations with Singapore. He later led the Japan Business Federation, or Keidanren. He recalls Lee's eagerness to learn from Japan, especially in terms of diligence and high worker productivity.
Singapore University.
Lee founded engineering science studies at the National University of Singapore. He arranged for Japanese corporate employees stationed in Singapore to teach there, and for the graduates to be hired by Japanese firms.
Over 20 Japanese companies eventually joined the project, contributing to the starting point for Singapore's economic development. The facility thus served as a foundation of bilateral ties between Japan and Singapore. Now it is a hub of Asia's oil industry. Lee introduced the Japanese model of nurturing talented people and applied it toward developing his country. Half a century after the rocky start of independent Singapore, Lee's efforts have borne fruit. Takuma Yoshioka, NHK World, Singapore.